We're joined by Michael Cohen of The Athletic. Now the games count for real. Of course, the Chicago Bears coming in on Sunday night. Big game changer trade by them. They go out and get one of the best guys on defense, Khalil Mack. How much problems is that for the Packers offense?
Well, it's huge. I mean, this is one of the best 3 or 4 pass rushers in the entire league. Not only does it stress, either David Bakhtiari or Brian Bulaga, depending on what side he lines up on, but it stresses everybody else on that line because all the communication has to be perfect. The double teams have to be perfect. It's a big, big factor. And I think even if Mack is only in there for a small amount of snaps relative to what he'd normally play, he can certainly make a difference in this game.
But is it up against him because he's got so little time to prepare?
I think in some ways it could be, but at the end of the day, there is a little bit of a simplicity to pass rusher, which is line up and then go chase that guy with the ball or go find where the ball is. So I think that if he were a cornerback or a safety, you could certainly say that the complexity is a little bit more intense. But as a pass rusher, they could only use him on third downs, for example, and just say, okay, pin your ears back and go get Aaron Rodgers. So I don't think he'll have too much of an issue there, but certainly as the weeks go on, his role will be different when they see the Bears the second time than what it'll be Sunday night.
Good point. Good point. I was just talking to Randall Cobb, and he said he was going through. He's like, dang, we didn't get him, because he thought that everybody thought that Mack was coming here. How disappointing is it that the Packers weren't able to bring him here?
I think at the end of the day, it comes down to just the fact that the Bears are more likely to have higher draft picks than the Packers are in the coming years. If the Packers were willing to give up 2 first-round picks and the Bears were willing to give up 2 first-round picks, for the Raiders, 2 of those are much more attractive than the other, and the Bears are just not likely to win as many games. So if the Raiders wanted the best overall return on investment, it was going with a team that's more likely to lose so they could get a better draft pick, and that's ultimately why it came down to the Bears.
Let's talk about the Packers defense. Last year, they did not finish strong at all. They couldn't tackle, they couldn't make plays, they couldn't get picks. Do you think that's going to change this season, and if so, why?
I think that there's an opportunity for this defense to be more exciting. When you look at what Mike Pettin does, whether it's scheming up blitzes, whether it's exotic disguises, there's a lot of different elements that we didn't see with former defensive coordinator Dom Capers.
Mm-hmm.
The question I have is whether or not any of those pre-snap complexities will cause mental errors and mistakes for guys on the back end. There's been times where Josh Jones blew coverages last year, where Clinton Dix took poor routes to the ball. I just wonder if all of the things going on, first game, primetime, national television, if that will create any moments of overload where there's some mistakes on the back end.
Let's talk offense. Aaron Rodgers is healthy. No Jordy Nelson. You got Jimmy Graham. What are you expecting out of this offense when the bright lights?
My opinion of this offense is that when Aaron Rodgers is in there, it can look pretty good regardless of who the receivers are. Of course, if he has Jordy Nelson, there's some chemistry and timing things that would be different. But when you still have a Randall Cobb, a Devontae Adams, you add in a Jimmy Graham, Geronimo Allison is a guy that could have a big season. I just think there's enough weapons there and obviously enough talent with Rodgers that he can sling it to whoever's lined up at receiver or tight end.
Last question for you. I'm going to put you on the spot. Who do you like on Sunday night and why?
I like the Packers to win this game. I think that even if the Bears defense plays well, ultimately it's going to be easier for Aaron Rodgers to put points on the board than it is for Mitch Trubisky, a young quarterback, to do the same for Chicago. So I just think at the end of the day, too much firepower for Green Bay, and I think the Packers start 1-0.
He's Michael Cohen from The Athletic. I'm Rod Burke for WTMJ. Thanks for clicking.